So good morning, everyone, and welcome to another version of our virtual Roadtrek rally. Great to have a wonderful turnout this morning, and I think we have a very interesting topic, which is traveling in your RV to Alaska. And we're so fortunate to have Eli Brooks, who offered to share with us his knowledge of Alaska because he's well qualified because he lives there. He is a Roadtrek user. He lives in Anchorage, Alaska.
Cool.
And so we're so pleased to have him here today to present to us on things to look out for, things to plan for, some safety precautions, places to go and not to miss. So Eli, thank you very much for preparing your presentation this morning for us. And I will turn it over to you. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. So over to you, Eli.
All right. Yeah, great. Thanks. Well, I'm overwhelmed. I wasn't expecting this many people, but this is great. So yeah, as he said, my name's Eli Brooks. I've been in Alaska pretty much my entire life, moved here when I was a year old. My mom loaded me and my sister in a station wagon and drove up the Alcan. Now she swears she will never drive the Alcan again. So basically, something to keep in mind that I really like to stress to people when they come to Alaska is the sheer size of Alaska. You got to remember, it's bigger than Texas, California, and Montana combined. So in order to drive from one point to another, it's going to take a lot of time, and you want to keep that in mind as you're making your plans for coming to Alaska. We have a lot of coastline in Alaska. In fact, we have more coastline than the entire U.S. combined. So there's lots of things to do and see while you're up here. Some of the things as you're driving around the highway system, there's lots of traffic. You're just like anywhere else. There's going to be traffic, construction, car accidents, wildlife on the road, things like that. So when you're, as I said, with the size of going from one point to another point, 500-600 miles, there's going to be a lot of variables in between that you want to keep in mind. So if you have somewhere that you need to be in 5 hours, plan on 10 hours, if not longer. When the highway closes down, it could be for up to 24 hours. And there's no bypass around it. You're stuck on whichever side that you're on. So when you're going and making plans for traveling around the state, what I always like to tell people is don't really set a plan. Try and follow the weather, follow the sunshine, especially if you're limited on time, if you only have 2-3 weeks. So what I like to do for traveling up here is I'll wake up in the morning, I'll pull out my phone, I'll look at directions north and I'll look at directions south and figure out where I'm going to be in good weather. So you want to keep that in mind as you're going around. And one of the best ways that we do is this magazine right here. Okay, this is called the Alaska Milepost. Every year they come out with a new one. You can buy them at Costco here in town. You can order them online. And what that's going to do is each mile that you're driving, it'll tell you, like on the left side of the road at milepost 88, there'll be a glacier on your left side. At mile 90, there's a gas station on your right. Food, restaurants, places to get gas, everything will be in that book. And that book is crucial because as you get out of the cities and around the state, you'll quickly realize your phone doesn't work anymore. You won't have internet service, cell service to call for help. So you're going to be relying on that book to help guide you around. And like I said, I've been here my whole life. I still use it. It'll give you great little hidden campsites that will be free to use. And that's one of the great things with our Roadtreks is we can fit pretty much anywhere. So a lot of the campsites and stuff up here are small. And having a Roadtrek is fantastic. It'll help you get into these little spots. There's going to be a lot of dirt roads that you're going to travel down. You're going to get dirty. There's no way around that. Your rig will be dirty. You can stay on the pavement if you want, if you don't want to avoid all that. But if you're really going to explore, you're going to have a dirty rig. Some other things to keep in mind for the highway up here is most of the highway, it's 2 lanes. You'll have traffic going one way, traffic going the other way. The speed limits are typically 55 to 65 miles an hour. You need to remember people are working here, living here. Our weekends, you know, I may only have Saturday off and I'm trying to, you know, travel 400 miles. And so if you see wildlife on the road, which you will, or, you know, beautiful mountains or eagles, whatever, maintain the speed limit. Don't slow down. Don't, you know, rubberneck at it, as they say. Keep going, because what'll happen is there's actually a law up here, and I'm sure it's a law in a lot of other places too. If you have more than 5 vehicles behind you, even if you're doing the speed limit or if you're doing 20 over the speed limit, you have to pull over and let them go by. Because what'll happen is you'll get 5-10 cars behind you, and then the last car decides to pass, and they're now on the oncoming traffic lane, and it's just a recipe for disaster. There's lots of pullouts. There'll be signs for it as you're driving. They'll warn you, you know, of a pullout coming up. Use them. Pull over, and don't stop on the highway. See this a lot. If there's a moose on the side of the road, you'll have, you know, 5 RVs and 5 rental cars pulled over, like stopped on the middle of the highway. Don't do that. It's not good, obviously. So use common sense when you're traveling here. I get it, you know, everyone does it. You go on vacation and you kind of throw common sense out the wind. But, you know, keep it on you. And with the wildlife up here, you want to be mindful. So when you wake up in the morning and you go outside to have your cup of coffee or, you know, do whatever, always be paying attention to your surroundings up here. I mean, I can go step out of my house right now and there could be a moose literally standing on my deck. So you want to be paying attention, be using, you know, your sight, your smell. A lot of times you'll smell a bear before you will actually see a bear. So be using your smell, be looking up above you for eagles. We have almost every year small animals. If you have a small animal like a dog or a cat, the eagles, they will take them. It's just the way it is. It's nature. So be looking up above as well if you have a small animal. And with moose, they're not very fast animals. I don't know if anyone's dealt with moose. Most of the time they just sit there and, you know, eat on the tree. So it's real easy to not be paying attention and get extremely close to a moose with no idea that it was even there. So, you know, pay attention. Carry bear spray. I always carry bear spray on me. I don't leave it in the rig. I have it on me. I keep it on my belts. It's ready to go. Things happen fast. You want to have it ready to, you know, do what it's supposed to do. Also make noise. A lot of people will bring bells with them, you know, strap a, you know, bear bell onto them. So as they're walking, it's making noise, which is great. Problem is when you stop, you're not making noise anymore. And there could be, you know, wildlife that's getting close to you and they don't realize that they're getting close to you until you guys both startle each other. So what I do is I'll carry a little Bluetooth speaker and just play some music or, you know, an audio book or something that's constantly making noise to let, you know, the animals around me know that, hey, I'm here. So I'm not going to startle them. They're not going to startle me, and we won't have a situation. Some other things I'd like to go over is Denali. That's always the big one that people want to see. They want to go to Denali and visit it and see it. It's amazing. I love Denali. I've been there several times. The problem with Denali, if you're limited on time in the state, let's say you only have 2 weeks and you want to see Denali, I would recommend traveling around. Like, don't specifically go to Denali. You can see Denali from all over the state. It's huge. I'm in Anchorage, which is a long ways away from Denali, and I can see it from my house. So if I got stuck going to Denali because there's nothing really there, there's, a couple of campgrounds and, t-shirt shops, stuff like that. So to me, it's worth visiting more of Alaska and having Denali be a backdrop. One of the best places to go for Denali would be Talkeetna, which is a couple hours out of Anchorage, and it's a cute little town. Lots of, great places to eat. You got the river and everything right there, and you can see Denali perfectly from there. There's little, you can get on a little bush plane, and they can fly you up around Denali and see it, up close and personal, which I've done, and it's amazing. Was actually crying on the plane when I did it. It was so emotional. You don't realize how big it is until you're really, really looking at it. They do sightseeing up to Denali, and it's fairly reasonable to go and do that. And I highly recommend doing that versus spending a whole week trying to see Denali, because if the weather's closed in there, you won't see anything. You can be standing right in front of it and not even realize that it's there. I know a lot of people come to Alaska to go fishing, and which is fantastic. I love fishing. So times a year on that are crucial. So if you go to the Alaska Fishing Game website, they actually have a fish counter on there that they update every year and daily. And so you can pull up multiple years and kind of figure out which will be the peak times to come and go fish for the fish that you're targeting. Most people come for sockeye salmon and king salmon. And there's different times of years, where it's better, just like anywhere else, to go fishing. June tends to be a slower month versus July, especially for sockeye salmon. You'll have 30,000 over the whole month of June for sockeye salmon. And in July, just in a 24-hour period, you can have over 200,000 that come in. So the fishing is dramatically different depending on when you come. Just like anywhere, you want to time it right. So pay attention to the timing if that's one of the things you want to do. If you end up flying into Alaska versus driving your RV up here, or Roadtreks, you can use Outdoorsy, which is an app, and you can rent. They actually have Roadtreks available to rent up here, privately owned. So that's always an option, especially with all the things going on nowadays for getting across Canada. That's always a great option to save the wear and tear on your rig if you don't want to take it all the way up, because it is going to be rough and hard on it. That brings me into the next thing I'd like to talk about, is what to have on our Roadtreks or any vehicle that you're traveling around up here. I always carry duct tape, zip ties, fuses, a belt, an alternator, and antifreeze, and an air compressor and a battery jump box. Those, I always have them in every rig that I have. As I said, once you get out of the city up here, you're not going to have cell phone reception. You're not going to be able to call for help. And those things can get you back home. So know how to use them, learn how to use your tire patch kit, practice on maybe an old set of tires, you know, do what you need to do. But have those things on you, because you're not going to be able to get parts. You're not going to be able to just go to Napa and get what you need to get home. And what that brings up, you know, use the universal sign of distress up here. You know, pop your hood. Everyone pretty much up here is super friendly. We all want to help each other out. We realize that, you know, we're on our own, especially once, you know, you're out there and there's no phone reception. If someone sees you with your hood popped up, they're going to pull over and help you. I know it always catches some people off guard when you do that, but you know, we're just trying to help, and we realize, you know, you're in a tough spot, and you know, even if I can just drive to town and call AAA for you, you know, I'm more than happy to do that. So use that universal sign of distress by popping your hood and letting, you know, us other drivers know that, hey, you know, I need help. So what other things can I go over? So things to do while you're up here. There's lots to do. I'm trying to read the chat here. I'll look at the chat here in a minute. Sorry. So things to do while you're up here. There's dog sledding tours. Dallas Seavey. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's actually one that I did around this year. He's won several times, but he has a dog sledding tour in Talkeetna again, that you can go and actually drive your own dog sled if you want, or they can drive it for you. And that's pretty amazing. A cheap way to go explore the rivers up here would be rafting. There's lots of rafting tours that you can go do. And those are, you know, anywhere from $30 to $50 typically. And that's a great afternoon, a great way to, you know, get off the road system and, you know, see some wildlife. Fishing charters, you can go ocean fishing, river fishing up here. A really great way to go experience, you know, the surroundings. There's glacier tours. You can go on the Matanuska Glacier. There's glaciers all over the place that you can go to. If you go to Homer, which would be more south, you can see like the Deadliest Catch from the TV show. A lot of times the boats will be out there. They harbor out there. And another big one people always ask about is Northern Lights. Yes, you can see the Northern Lights while it's still, you know, no snow on the ground. That'll be more towards September and October. It's definitely possible to see the Northern Lights during those times. You just have to time it right, and you know, it's all luck, you know, just like seeing Denali, it's all luck. And go watch the Pipeline, which will be right along the highway if you're going like Valdez to Fairbanks. The Pipeline will be alongside the highway for a lot of the way, so that's kind of neat to do. What else? Bugs. There's going to be lots of bugs. Lots of mosquitoes, our state bird. So with mosquitoes, the more inland you get, the worse the bugs are going to get. If you stay on the coastlines, you know, further south, the bugs won't be as bad, you know, by the ocean. But of course, any lake or anything like that, there's going to be a lot of mosquitoes. That's just the way it works. Some of the things, you know, to, I guess, have them not get you as bad. Obviously, DEET is a good one. Avoid using any scented sprays, you know, deodorants, perfumes, your laundry detergent. If you can use, you know, unscented laundry detergent, that really, really helps out. So yeah, yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. We can get into questions.
Any questions for Eli up to this point?
I have a question. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
When we were there in '86, we drove our van up there in '86. Had a great time. 97. I'm sorry, drove our little van up there. And one of the places we talked about going was Kennecott Copper, but it's apparently you drive up an old railroad right away to get to it. And I was just kind of curious, is that still a thing?
Yes, Kennecott is still a thing. Amazing place to go. Actually, really highly recommend Kennecott. There's so many things to do up here. It's kind of hard to get into all of them, but yeah, it's still there. A lot. You have to use their shuttle service to actually get to Kennecott for the majority of the time because the road's pretty bad, and with their contract that they have for it. But yeah, it's still there. You can still go do the tour. It's amazing. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What about the haul road going up to the oil fields? We did that also, and of course there weren't many people at that time. But it was a great ride. I had a grand time. It was the best thing I did in Alaska. Seeing the up the Inuttitut Pass was the best part. I think I could have just turned around there and gone home, but getting the Inuttitut Pass was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's definitely still a thing. Like I was saying, you know, if you're bringing your Roadtrek up there, more than likely you're going to get some paint chips or a chipped windshield or a flat. It's a rough road. That's big boy territory.
if you can't use it, it's not worth having.
Yeah. No, you can definitely do it. And it's gorgeous up there. I've done it a couple times. Not my Roadtrek. I've been a little nervous with that one.
Do they still have ice heaves there?
Yes, and that's something. Yeah, I should have brought that up. So the ice heaves and the frost heaves, a lot of times they'll put the warnings up on the side of the road. It'll say, you know, warning frost heave or warning bumps. They're not joking. You need to slow down dramatically. You'll normally see a lot of times, like if there's not a sign, you'll just see skid marks out of nowhere on the highway, and there's a frost heave there. And you can do a Dukes of Hazzard with them. So yeah, you want to be very cautious with the frost heaves. When you get further north, they seem to get worse. So more Fairbanks area, Glen Allen, around there. Yeah, the frost heaves are a definite thing. So.
Okay, any other questions of Eli?
Top of my head, just a quick question about your RT, your rig specifically, whether you've made any modifications to the suspension just to make getting around easier for yourself.
The suspension, no. Definitely like invest in solid tires. That's very important, just like anywhere. I know lighting is very important up here. Like the later you get, well, not so much, you know, the middle of summer, June, July, it'll be sunny the whole time. But if you're going to be up here later in the season, September, October, investing in good lighting is pretty important because the wildlife will just come out of nowhere. So it's worth investing in that. But suspension wise, no, most of it's paved pretty well. Where we were talking about like the frost heaves and stuff, they'll give you a good heads up on it. So just, you know, be cautious.
The other question was related to the dirt roads that you talked about earlier. I know as Roadtrek owners, we're always very cautious of ruts that could happen, which we could bottom out on. And that's kind of what led to my question about the suspension piece. Yeah.
No, I mean, if you're worried about it, walk in, you know, get out, walk down the road first, you know, make sure it's not going to be anything, you know, that's going to damage our rigs, you know, just like anywhere.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from anyone?
What about Seward in that area?
Seward, it's one of my favorite places. Yes, Seward, I love Seward. That's going to be a little over 2 hours from Anchorage, where I'm at. So Seward's great for it's small little town, little shops that you can go to. Where you camp at will more than likely be right on the water. They're changing their prices this year, unfortunately. It used to be, what was it, $20 a day. You have to make reservations for it. You can't just show up anymore. You used to be able to show up before COVID happened. And they changed the price to $40 a day. So prices have gone up. just like anything. But yeah, you can go and do the halibut charters out of there are fantastic. If you want a good, easy day on the water, it's a good place to go. You can go for halibut and silver salmon, lingcod, and king salmon out of there. You've got the glacier that you can go hike to up in Seward. That's a lot of fun. The road was closed last year when I went up there to actually get to the glacier. So you couldn't drive to it, but you can ride a bike or walk, and it was around 3 miles to get back to the glacier. They have dog sledding and everything there as well. So yeah, really great place to visit. Gorgeous, gorgeous drive.
Do you take the tunnel or do you go over the mountain?
So yeah, the tunnel that you're talking, you said Seward, right?
Yes.
Or Whittier.
Yeah, as I remember,
Okay.
the railroad tunnel, was there not, that they run cars through?
Okay, so that's Whittier. Yeah, Whittier
I'm sorry, my
goes through
memory's
the
bad.
tunnel.
It's been a few years.
No, you're fine. Yeah, so Whittier, completely different town. Whittier, yeah, you go through the tunnel, 30-minute increments. They'll let people go one way, another 30 minutes they'll let them go the other way. Really neat to do, because I mean, you're driving through the middle of the mountain, so it's kind of fun. The town of Whittier, there's not really much there at all. You get on a boat and you leave. They have, there's not really any shops or anything in Whittier. So yeah, I don't know. I like Seward over Whittier. I don't know.
Yeah, hi. We were there in 2019. We actually spent
Okay.
4 months up there. A beautiful state, and
Yeah.
we thought we were going to get back there this year, but with the COVID, so next year's the next trip. One of the things we had an issue with was boondocking. Any recommendations on boondocking or places?
Yeah, use the Milepost. I don't know if you used it last time you came up.
Yes, we did.
Did you? Okay. Yeah, I've never really been bothered too much with boondocking. I don't know what issues did you have? I'm not sure.
We had no issues. We spent most of the time at various campgrounds. Well, we hit most of the cities or the towns that were up there.
Okay.
We love the state. Looking forward to go back. Frost heaves weren't too bad. We did have a couple of issues when you hit some of them that are unexpected.
Yeah.
Make sure you're not going too fast. Almost encountered a moose. We almost hit a moose as it came out of the woods as we're driving around Talk. So be careful of moose sightings. They will come out of nowhere, and they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eli, would you recommend against driving at night because of animals coming out on the road, or is that a concern?
Well, it depends on the time of year. Most people are here during June and July, and it's going to be 2 in the morning and sunny out. So, yeah, nighttime, I don't know. Moose are pretty much active a lot. So you just have to be cautious, pay attention, look way down the road. Like I said, with lighting later in the season, you want to give yourself as much room as possible, with the moose. Cause I mean, like I said, they can be up to 1,600 pounds, and the big difference between a deer.
How about the Alaska Marine Highway for Southeast?
Yeah. Personally, I have never done the Marine Highway. I've always wanted to. I know a lot of people do it. I think the cost is pretty reasonable, and that's something I didn't really bring up, but so a lot of Alaska is off the road system. So yeah, like you said, you're gonna have to use the Marine Highway, a bush plane, a four-wheeler. You'll see it a lot as you travel around up here. Almost everyone has a four-wheeler behind them. So to get to the real places of Alaska, like I always joke, the real Alaska doesn't have a Walmart. So you want that at least 50 miles away. So yeah, the Marine Highway, you can easily load up your Roadtrek on there and go all over the state with that. Pretty reasonably cost. In fact, I just checked from going to Valdez to Whittier with my Roadtrek, and it was around $300 to do that. So yeah, a great way to get around and get where places most people don't go. And this year, and I don't know what the future is going to bring, but a lot of cruise ships won't be coming into those ports. So you'll have the place to yourself, and that would be a really great way to travel around with everything that's going on.
Yeah, I highly recommend the Alaska Marine Highway. We took it up from Port Rupert all the way up to Skagway, and we stopped at Juneau. What was the other one? Petersburg. There was a few other towns, really nice, quaint little towns, and the only way you can get to them is by boat or ferry. But it's highly recommend it.
Yeah, definitely.
I also did that backpacking though, it was 20 years ago or so, and it was one of the most fantastic things I've ever done in my entire life. And you definitely you can stop and get off in different places and then get back on a different time. And it really allows you to do a lot of different things. That was amazing. I highly recommend it.
Can you take the Marine Highway just by driving up and getting on, or do you need to reserve space ahead?
No, it'll be reservations at this point.
Yeah.
We lived in Juneau for 20 years. So the Marine Highway was our way to get around. And you'll need reservations and make them, in the summer, make them well in advance, because that thing does get full. They save a couple of spaces, but not many for the locals. And people, a lot of times it's fun to drive up the Alcan and then take the Marine Highway back down to Seattle. Because by the time you've driven up the Alcan and you've toured the state up north, you're tired. And sitting on a boat and watching the scenery go by is a great way to end the trip.
Eli, are there any other must-see spots when you're going there?
It really depends on what you want to do. I know I have my personal favorites. Me personally, I love Homer. Juneau is amazing. Ketchikan, Seldovia. They're all just, you can drive anywhere. I just like getting in my car and just drive and just look, because you never know what you're going to see. Like last night, we left the house just on a random drive, and we're watching the board tide with paddle surfers out there and a bush plane flying over them, and just get out there. It's a busy place and everyone's doing stuff, and it's just fun to be out there.
I'd recommend some things. Chena Hot Springs is north of Fairbanks. Beautiful place. There's a lot of hot springs in Alaska where you can go in and just go into a natural hot spring pond or pool. Really nice. Valdez, Ketchikan, as you said, is great. Another one is Alaska or Girdwood is another nice place. They have the Alaska Hotel with a tram you can take up to the top of the mountain and get some nice views of some of the glaciers that are up there. What can you tell us about Kodiak?
Yeah. Amazing place. If you want to go bear viewing, like that's the Mecca. Amazing crab eating around there. You can literally go like right off the docks, and if you have a little boat, you can rent little boats out there. Go crabbing, great halibut fishing out there. Cute little town, really, really cute. Just like a lot of the towns, what I'm sure you remember, they're just great little places, good community. Yeah, a lot of fun. Yeah, big bears, big grizzlies around there. Yeah, for sure.
Eli, I'm not sure if you have any knowledge of this. I'll just throw it out. They do this in Mexico, and that is that people travel in convoys. So you may have, 4 to 8 folks. They'll join up at a certain city on a certain day, and then they will travel into Mexico in a convoy. There's a bit of sense of safety when people travel together, a bit of fellowship and fun, sitting around the campfire at night, that sort of thing. Everybody contributes input in terms of interesting stops along the way. Usually there's one in the group that's a either a mechanic or a handyman. He usually brings up the rear. So if anybody does break down along the way, he can help them when he comes along. And the second part of that is I understand that there's a couple companies who actually coordinate those trips in caravans. They book the recommended campsites every night. They organize some meals. They organize some tour buses in areas where there are sights to see. Have any knowledge of any of that for Alaska? And might there be, well, I'm sure there's interest from our members to do that. Might there be anybody who coordinates trips like that for RVers coming to Alaska? Do you know?
Yeah, I know there's companies that do it. I'm actually a member of there's some Facebook groups. They're like RVing to Alaska for the different years. And that's a really great way to meet other, people that'll be traveling if you guys want to team up together. But yeah, as you said, everyone brings something to the table, and it's a great way to, get in a group and meet new people. Bring, maybe someone's handy at cooking and someone's good at changing out alternators. So yeah, it's a great way to travel. Yeah, but yeah, I know I'm not sure with the companies. I've never worked with them myself for traveling around, but I know there is companies that organize trips, and you'll get in a caravan and they'll have everything planned out for you, where you're going to go, the campgrounds, food, everything. Yeah.
A quick Google search of Alaska RV caravan will yield you at least 5 different operators that you can explore. So something for people to look at if that's their thing.
Yeah, I thought I'd bring up a little tip that I forgot to bring up. So if you end up flying into Alaska and renting an RV or traveling in a car or whatever up here versus our Roadtreks, if you plan on so just bring up one suitcase. And I know with Alaska Airlines and a lot of other airlines, you can actually check in a cooler as luggage. So if you go fishing up here, to get your fish back home, buy a cheap little cooler and you can check it in as luggage and not get charged extra for it. It can be, whatever luggage weight would be, 60, 80 pounds or whatever. So a good way to save money, because it's expensive to ship out of Alaska. So little tip there.
Any other questions before we wind up? Well, we've got Eli here.
Yeah, I was wondering, do you ever have to worry about campgrounds being full and they're not finding a place, or at the end of the day, can you always find something?
Yeah, that can be tough. A lot of places, especially with COVID going on, are taking reservations, which helps out. But it also, like last year, there was space. They'd leave a space in between the campsites, so everything was cut in half. So reservations can help out, but a lot of places also don't take reservations. So you can drive, 3-4 hours to wherever you're going and find out you have no place to get into the campground at night. And it's just the way it is. Luckily, that's why I love my Roadtrek, because I can park anywhere. I've, gone, to different towns and expected to get into a campsite and found out that it's completely full, but I'm tired. I'll go to a local restaurant, have dinner, and talk to the owner. And I've done this several times. And hey, can I just park out front for the night? And then I'll be moving on. And hopefully in the morning, someone will clear out of the campsite and I can get in. But yeah, it's definitely a fact and a reality of the campgrounds. A lot of them are very small, so there's not a lot of room. So first come, first serve.
A question for you about that. If the campground is full and you just need to dump or take on water, what's your experience been with being able to do that?
It depends on the campground. A lot of the ones where it's privately run, if you go and talk to them and just tell them you need to dump, they'll charge you, $5-10 or whatever, and you can go dump. And that's the other thing too, for dumping the RVs around the state. A lot of the gas stations have free dump sites and free water fill up. So take advantage of that. Check around, and like I said, use the Milepost. The Milepost will have that information in there that'll help you out as you're getting around.
Thank you.
Eli, where can we get that magazine? I know you mentioned your local Costco, but say if we're coming from Ontario and we want to plan ahead, can we get that Milepost magazine mailed to us somehow?
Yeah, you can order it online. I believe if you just type in the Alaska Milepost, it'll bring you to the website and you can order that. So yeah, great book. Definitely keep one handy. It's fun to plan out too.
Is that magazine unique to Alaska, or do they have a series of them from different areas around North America? Do you know?
I don't know. I know the one here, you'll see them around the state as you travel around. They'll be in a truck cab over. They'll say Milepost on it. And literally they go down every side road and write everything down and then add it into the book. I don't know if they do it in other states, but it'd be great if they did because it's really handy.
Another recommendation I would have is the Tour Saver coupon book. It's a coupon book that gives you huge discounts on a lot of the tours, whether it be a boat tour, a walking tour, cruises. Definitely worth the money. I think it was about $70, and you can save hundreds and hundreds of dollars for any of the tours you might go on.
The Northern Lights coupon book. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I think it was Tour Saver. The Northern Lights wasn't available.
Okay.
It wasn't available.
Oh, it wasn't? Oh, okay.
They brought it back in 2020, I believe. 2019 didn't have the Northern Lights.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those coupons will save you over $100 easy.
Good. Okay.
So I have a question, if I might. So you mentioned if you couldn't find a place at a campground that you would kind of camp and find a place to ask the restaurant owner or whatever if you could stay. So did you find that to be pretty reliable and safe? I want to do this someday soon, maybe with just myself and my 9-year-old. So I'm concerned about safety, of course. I'm wondering if you found it pretty reliable to find a place to stay if you're just too tired to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in the wintertime, because like in the winter, the campgrounds are closed. So we do it all the time and we've never had any issues. You're going to be in a well-lit area more than likely. It'll probably be a little busy, late in the evening just because, people are coming and going, but yeah, it's a great way to do it. Yeah.
We won't be going in the winter, that's for sure, but and I'm definitely interested if anybody is going to be getting together a caravan that's not through a company to Mexico or into Alaska. These are places we want to go, but it's, as a single mom and a 9-year-old, it's a little bit daunting. So post it on Facebook if it's happening.
Any parting comments before we leave?
Eli, tell me about towing and getting service. What's been your experience? It's a long way to get towed.
Oh, to get towed? Yeah. So like I said, try and get yourself home. But yeah, if you end up needing to get towed, it's going to be expensive. Check your insurance policy for your towing, because a lot of times it'll only cover 100, 200 miles. Which you'll need to go a lot further than that in order to get to the shop. So definitely keep that in mind. It's going to get expensive. But yeah, no, I luckily, knock on wood, in fact, where's some wood? I don't want to get towed up here.
Eli, did you put any stone guards of any kind on your Roadtrek, and which Roadtrek model are you using?
Yeah, well, I use what is it, like the bug guard in the front, and that's another thing, your radiator. A lot of people in the wintertime, you'll see it if you go like the haul road we were talking about. People will put cardboard over their radiator to prevent, because a rock will go in there and it'll bust a hole in it. So you'll see a lot of that, especially in the wintertime too, for keeping it warm. For chipping and stuff, I don't really have anything extra on there. I know the top windows on the top, if I were to do the haul road, I'd probably put cardboard over it, just because they're hard to find those windows and replace them. But you're going to get rock chips. It's just a badge of honor up here. Every window is busted. So that's just the way it is up here.
So folks, thank you so much for all of your wise words of wisdom and sharing your favorite spots and your experience, Eli. That was great, and especially well done, given the fact that this was organized on short notice from your end. So I'm sure we all appreciate the information. We've had an exceptionally large turnout today, and so there's obviously much interest in traveling to Alaska. I think post-COVID, there will continue to be growing interest, of course, and we can keep in touch on the Facebook forums. And for those who want to go, maybe there's an opportunity to create an informal caravan, or as Gary suggested, if we Google planning caravan trips, if you want to go in a paid group and have it all done, that's an option as well. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending. Thank you again, Eli, for your time here, and we hope you've enjoyed it. So
Thank you, guys.